Hey everybody, it is Colin Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and coming at you with a NITRO'S Take on the NXT Worlds Collide card, which took place on January 25th, 2020 from Houston, Texas. And let me just get the name of the arena there for that. It came from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. I wanted to call it the Compact Center, but no, that's the old building in Houston, FKA to Summit. This is the new one that they got built for the Rockets, the new fancy arena that they got built there. Anyways, this was a tournament last year named Worlds Collide, in which the winner would get a title shot on their specific brands and that stuff that they would run during, and I was there for the first one, Royal Rumble fan access, and kind of leading up to WrestleMania as well, so WrestleMania access, and I think they did one as well during SummerSlam fan access, and they just took all of the, shall we say, undercard guys from Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, NXT UK, and put them all in a giant tournament, and the winner would get a title shot on whatever brand they wanted to. Now this year they've kind of upped it a little bit, and now it's just a straight NXT TakeOver-esque type network special, but in all the matches it's an NXT UK team or talent taking on your NXT Wednesday night show talent. So not really a takeover, just more of a network special. But anyway, my thoughts about the show. So I missed the pre-show, but what we had on a pre-show was Kaylee Ray defeating Mia Yim in 9:15 in a singles match. Kaylee Ray rolled up Mia Yim while grabbing the ropes to win, so a classic heel victory, and it builds Kaylee Ray up again as a more credible heel. She is the current NXT UK Women's Champion, and yes, I'll still refer to them as the NXT UK Women's Champion and the NXT UK Men's Champion. And then, of course, on the main roster, NXT Men's Champion and NXT Women's Champion. Just to kind of separate it, I know that they're going with NXT Champion across the board. Well, you only have one belt. How can two people hold one belt, right? It's confusing. I know. I don't know why they're doing it either. But anyways. We get into the main card, and we get a epic intro with Winston Churchill's famous speech from World War II, and then I better hear some Iron Maiden, Aces High, and it goes right into Slipknot, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. It's just, I laughed at that. I was like, aw, come on, Triple H. That would have been the perfect time to bust out some Aces High for us. Come on, that'd be great. Finn Balor versus Ilya Dragunov was our first match of the evening. Finn Balor representing NXT and Dragunov representing NXT UK. But in reality, we had an Irish wrestler take on a Russian talent, which was pretty cool. The red eyes make Dragunov look like he's from Chernobyl, though. Just saying. I know that might be the gimmick. It's just a little twisted. But Balor, of course, has Gargano on 3 weeks in Portland, their big grudge match, and they did some building towards that. We'll get to that a little bit later on the show as well. It was a game of can you top this to start. A heel Balor at his best here, and then I put down worse, the brand new kind of, I guess, Prince Devitt version of Finn Balor, if you will, that has shown up in NXT. So that's pretty cool. Dragunov looked good here too, but I think he needs to flesh out his character a little bit more. And the finish, Balor hits a coup de grace and a 1916 DDT for the 1-2-3 count. A solid opener. It didn't ring my bell though or anything. It just was there. It felt like a decent TV match, which it was. 14 minutes. I think we'll hear more about Dragunov as the weeks and months go on. I think he just recently signed with them late last year. So, and I've seen a lot of his PWG work. So he's a talent. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's just the red eyes thing is an attention getter, and he reminds me of the bad guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit after the dip is dipped on him, in that last scene. So, but anyways. But actually, before we get to that, we see a standoff between the Broserweights and the Grizzled Young Veterans, which is another NXT versus NXT UK matchup. The winners on Wednesday will go to NXT TakeOver Portland for a chance at the tag team titles. This was, currently held by Undisputed Era, Fish and O'Reilly. This was promoted on the show tonight as kind of the big hook to try to get everybody in to watch on Wednesday night. So we know already what they're going to be firing at AEW in the ratings war. Why this isn't on the show tonight, I don't know, because this would be perfect to have kind of in the main event spot or maybe a semi-main for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic the night before the Royal Rumble. But if you're in a ratings war, you're going to do, at times, some goofy things. AEW has done some in the past, and now I guess this is NXT's turn to do some stuff with some weird booking ideas, where the ideas themselves are great, but I guess just the execution and the timing of these ideas are a little suspect. Now we'll get to the NXT Cruiserweight title for Fatal 4-Way. The champion going into this was Angel Garza. He took on Travis Banks and Jordan Devlin. Both of those guys are from NXT UK and representing NXT in North America. Isaiah Swerve Scott. So a lot of these four guys are kind of some of the hottest signees to the NXT brand over the past year or so. Some you might have seen on TV before, some you might have not seen on TV ever. So this was very interesting. I still want to call this the WWE Cruiserweight title, but hey, very chaotic cluster style to start, but lots of innovative moves in this one. Huge pop for Garza, finally ripping off the tearaway pants. He tried it a couple times in the match and got stopped both times, so it was about 8 minutes into the match. He finally got a chance to do it. He's the anti-Tai Chi, I guess, whereas, people want to boo Tai Chi when he does that. People in North America want to cheer Angel Garza when he does it. So there we go. Quick 2 count for Travis Banks out of the Kiwi Crusher on Devlin. I thought that was it. I thought Banks was going to walk out with the title. But Devlin, shortly thereafter, hits the Devil Inside Finisher and becomes the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. So Baby Balor gets a belt, finally. Good for him. The match didn't move the needle for me, but great effort. The runtime on that match was 12:05 as we look at it on the mighty Wikipedia timing system. Like I said, didn't move the needle for me, but it was a lot of fun. And I think compared to last year's matchup for the Cruiserweight title, where I think it was Kalisto, Hideo Itami, and who was the champion going in? Oh, Buddy Murphy, right. That triple threat. This one here, I think, stands up to it and might even surpass it on Rumble weekend a little bit, but I still really, really enjoyed being there live last year and walking in and watching it as part of the pre-show. I think it's still kind of missing something not being part of that show anymore, but I think it's a better fit. Post-match, Jordan Devlin cuts a promo on top of the Spanish announce table of all things and yells that you never bet against an ace, and gets some of his heel heat back by attacking Swerve Scott a little bit on the apron as he walks away with the belt. Shortly thereafter, Mia Yim and Keith Lee are shown in the crowd, and we are reminded that this past Wednesday on NXT, Roderick Strong lost the North American title to Keith Lee. So we are reminded that this Expedition of Gold that the Undisputed Era kind of centered their entire 2019 around has all of a sudden gone by the wayside, because it's a brand new year and there's new challengers and that stuff, and kind of the monopoly they had on all the NXT main roster NXT, the yellow and gold brand, not the NXT UK belts and that stuff, is kind of loosening its grip a little bit. So that's an interesting little monkey wrench to throw into this storyline and that stuff with the Undisputed Era going through, and there might even be more here on Rumble weekend. We'll see how many of the Undisputed Era members are actually in the Rumble tomorrow. So we'll see. Also in the crowd, Robert Stone and Chelsea Green. So there's your TNA Impact content for the night, are shown in the ring as well. Robert Stone, of course, was Robbie E for so many years over in TNA Impact, and so it's great to see him in a managerial role. It's kind of like a similar deal that they did with Rockstar Spud, FKA Drake Maverick, when he first came over. Kind of give him an outside-of-the-box role and let him, kind of run with it and that stuff. And so he's playing this role as kind of a big-time sports agent, trying to hook his clients up with gold and title matches and that stuff. And Chelsea Green, of course, the former Laurel Van Ness over in TNA Impact, is kind of the first of his clients and that stuff. So, and she's already had a main roster match. So her and Deonna Purrazzo as well have had main roster matchups, about a month ago or so. They were kind of brought in as, I don't want to say glorified jobbers to Charlotte Flair on a main roster, but, we seen them on Monday Night Raw. So, Dream Tag Team match time where we had DIY versus Mustache Mountain. Awesome hearing the old DIY music again, and Gargano and Ciampa repping new merch, repping all blue attire. So, it was great. And then, of course, Mustache Mountain comes out, and this was the big kind of draw to the show. This was, it wasn't really the main event, but between this one and who was in the main event was kind of the draw for the network special tonight, at least for me to watch it. Cool pulls off spot between Trent Seven and Tommaso Ciampa, and also later on Ciampa making fun of Tyler Bates' height in the match were two of my favorite laughable spots and that stuff during it. I have written down here again some fun spots, a 50-50 split in the crowd, but DIY is not missing a beat, and they were clearly the better team in this match, or at least they appeared to be. Match of the night so far. I'll go ahead and say it was my pick for match of the night. I thought it was really good. Classic false finishes with DIY going for their high-low kick, and then Mustache Mountain going for a Doomsday knee drop, and both of them just getting 2 counts off of it. DIY tries to meet in the middle, high-low kick once again, and this time it works for free. And then post-match, tons of sportsmanship. The runtime on this one, if you want to watch it, is 22:55, and it is really good. It's up there right now for match of the weekend honors, for sure, for anything coming out of Rumble weekend. This was fun. This was a great match to watch. So post-match, we go back into the crowd, and they do the NXT TakeOver tradition of showing who's all brand new with NXT, who has just signed. And one of the big signees they have now is Mercedes Martinez, who has signed finally with NXT and will be, probably getting a push sometime in January, February, and March. Heck, she might be a contender for the NXT women's title, if, come Mania time or maybe come SummerSlam time, who knows. Then we see Dakota Kai, who's sitting ringside and just, her heel persona once again, just sitting there with her arms crossed like this, like would rather be doing anything else. She gets jumped by Tegan Nox, and so we have 2 matches set now for Wednesday for NXT. This one is supposedly Kai and Nox one-on-one. I'm not sure if it's no disqualification or anything. If it isn't, then get ready for a no disqualification match somewhere down the line with them. And then, of course, the Dusty Final with Grizzled Young Vets taking on the Broserweights. So, again, why isn't this match happening tonight? Because ratings. They want to pull a rating on Wednesday to beat AEW, depending on what AEW does. So, up next, the NXT Women's Championship. The champion, Rhea Ripley, taking on Toni Storm. It sounded like somebody was screwing with the audio during Rhea's entrance. There was a lot of mic scratching and popping, and a lot of popping like that on the mic, which isn't fun. I still don't get why they dropped the women's moniker from the belt. If you want equality, throw the men's in with the NXT title name, in my opinion. We talked about that earlier on, and that's how I'll refer to it from here on out, the NXT women's title and the NXT men's title, just so we don't get confused. It was a very evenly matched encounter, but Ripley retains with the Riptide, 1-2-3, and retains the belt. I don't think this was the best match that they had. I think that the match that Toni and Rhea had for the first NXT UK women's belt last year or the year before, I believe it was better, but I think it was last year. I think it was 2019. This one here, though, did the job, and Ripley was over with the crowd for sure. Bianca Belair was ringside during this match too, sitting ringside, and of course that's the big match for the next takeover for the NXT women's title is Belair Ripley one-on-one for that belt, so that should be interesting to see what happens there. We then cut to the back. While that match was going on, Gargano got attacked by Balor and Catering, and Tyler Bate broke things up. So maybe Balor and Bate this week on NXT 2. That's not been announced yet, but I would assume that might be on the undercard on Wednesday's show, where they kind of build off of this, where they'll have Finn Balor versus Tyler Bate to add to what we already got. So you can see them building kind of an epic show on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that show. So that might give them enough to get the ratings win over AEW. But then again, AEW won last week by being on a boat. So basically, but also having great matches on the boat too. Pac and Moxley was awesome. But yeah, just the novelty of being on the boat, I think, helped them pull it out. So the main event, the Undisputed Era versus Imperium in an 8-man tag. Huge pop for Undisputed Era. So I thought they were the face, but then there was a huge pop for Imperium as well. I think the fans like both these factions now at this point. 8-man tag rules. I wish this was a street fight. It would have flowed a lot better as a street fight, I think. But 8-man tag kind of is up Imperium's alley, being classically trained, quote-unquote, wrestlers, whereas Undisputed Era, just kind of more thugs than anything else. I mean, they do wrestle, but just, along the lines, right? Alexander Wolf got knocked out on a tandem kick chop combination by Fish and O'Reilly, and of course I've retweeted the gif of that over on my Twitter. You can go over to Kellen Nitro on Twitter at Kellen Nitro and take a look at it and see. Yeah, I think he just tucked his chin at the wrong moment and caught, the kick. I want to say from Fish, probably, might have been aimed for up here, but it ended up here, and that hurt a lot. But yeah, he went instantly out. When you see it, you just see the entire body just kind of like that when that happens. So it's on the internet. Go look at it, and it's cringeworthy too. But they pulled him right out of the match for darkroom and CTE purposes. Hopefully, he's not out too long, because he is a integral part of that Imperium faction right now over for NXT UK. But that left Imperium on a 4-on-3 disadvantage for the rest of the match. Walter, though, responds by just ragdolling Kyle O'Reilly throughout that thing. Like, it was just like watching, like Grand Theft Auto or something, when you're, beating up or running over people on the streets or anything like that. It is like, just ragdoll physics to the nth degree with O'Reilly. He's just a bump monster. It's crazy. Imperium's tag team ability, even down one, is amazing. Yes. Yeah. Barthel and Eichner together as a tag team have a ton of chemistry. Well, they were tagging together before the Imperium gimmick started. And now with Walter in the corner, I could see now why the NXT UK cats dig this faction for sure. It was amazing. After fighting from behind the entirety... We'll try this again. After fighting from behind the entirety of the match, down 4-3, Imperium beats UE, the Undisputed Era. Walter with the power bomb on Fish to end everything. And then at the end of the show, Imperium stands at the top of the ramp, successful with their music playing and their lights effects happening, with the all white in the background and then no light out in front. So you just see the shadows of the 3 men left with Imperium. So I'm going to give this show a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I don't think all of the boxes were ticked for me on this show. This thing did not feel like a takeover at all. It felt kind of more like a network special than anything else. Again, Dragunov and Balor to me, wasn't very special. It felt like anything that you could see on television. I thought the best in that match of the night was DIY versus Mustache Mountain. Those guys brought it. It was fun. But everything else, it kind of just felt like watching honestly a normal episode of NXT. It didn't feel any special at all on this. But, it got everybody in the mood for the Rumble for tomorrow. And how many of these guys are going to be part of the Rumble tomorrow? Wait to be seen. We have to wait a few hours to find out. So, anyways, later days. Happy wrestling watching, folks. We'll catch you next time. I'm Kellen Nitro. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, you name it. It's all at Kellen Nitro. Easy to find everything there. Links are below, too. And go give my buddy at Mr. Morehouse a cheering up, too. He had a death in the family over the past week or so. So I want to send my condolences at the end of the video to my contributor, Morehouse. And he's a friend of mine as well. So a death in the family is never great. He may decide to divulge details. He may not. But I'm just going to say that, he had a death in the family. So that's why you're not seeing much of him here lately on the channel. So he's dealing with that. So hopefully we'll get him back for Mania here in a couple of months' time and that stuff. But it'll be good. So Anyways, take it easy, folks. We'll see you next time. And yeah, enjoy the Rumble tomorrow. Hope your pick wins.